So we've seen quite a few people change the way they collect their cash from their clients. What are the steps are accountants doing at the moment to value price their services? What changes are we seeing in the market right now?
A lot of change. In fact, it's not just restricted to the accounting profession, but people are now recognizing that you should invoice for the benefit that the customer receives. And in our world of accountancy, it's the benefit. The benefit to the client is the key to this whole value pricing. Mm-hmm. It also, by the way, sits very comfortably with the new way of selling. When accountants are now selling to clients, they are much more talking about what is it that the customer wants beneficially to them, which may not be sets of accounts. It may be tax, it may be corporate finance.
Advice, just general business advice. Listening to somebody with integrity.
Absolutely. So we're seeing firms say, well, if you're happy with your old accountant or existing accountant for the compliance work, by all means stay there.
This is a big change in the market, right?
Very big change. Financial services has been very effective in this, and more recently tax schemes. So we're seeing, just by way of example, accounting firms meeting up with clients or potential clients, signing them up for a tax scheme. The fee agreed is based on the tax saved, or as a percentage of, nothing to do with the number of hours at all, and the existing accountant is staying in place, no doubt upset or wishing they had identified it themselves, but that's another story. But as a result of this change, the whole notion of billing and invoicing clients or value pricing is now all being merged together. In terms of business has changed as a result of that. And so we're seeing firms saying, well, how can we best satisfy our customers' needs? And the answer is, in the world of compliance, understand what I'm paying for, the checklist that we talked about.
Yes.
Subject, of course, to variation orders, the 30% budget rule where the client didn't
change orders
for compliance work. And so there is a model there that recognizes how the customer feels. Nothing to do with us. And the time recording system is merely a mechanism for us to somehow monitor the amount of time and therefore cost to us that we're investing in our clients. And that's very much appropriate for compliance work. The frequency of the billing for compliance work is also part of the discussion. So if I say to you, it's £4,000 to do your audit, Ian, and it will be £400 a month, 5 months before your year end and 5 months after your year end, the idea being that 5 months after year end I will have finished your accounts and therefore I should have been paid. And that is the way a lot of business people are saying, well, that works for me, spreads it nice and evenly, I pay for it when I get the job. But value pricing, in terms of benefit driven, completely different set of rules.
So what is a completely different set of rules?
Well, it's more along the lines of, if I do something that we can all see there's benefit, the discussion is more along the lines of, well, what's the benefit? So we talk about the benefit, and then finally, when someone says, well, how much is that going to cost me? You say, well, based on the benefit, so tax is a good example, corporate finance is another excellent example. Well, if I can sell your company in and we can get £20 million for it, I was thinking maybe 10% as a success.
Or 3%. The percentage is just, you'd say to the clients, or a lot of people are saying to the clients at the moment, what do you think is reasonable?
Exactly.
What is fair and equitable for both of us? And you agree a percentage of the benefit as opposed to a fixed price.
So the whole discussion goes around the benefit, of which the percentage is...
That works nicely for tax planning, financial services,
profit improvement consulting,
corporate finance,
strategic planning.
All of those services are now tending to move towards that sort of benefit-driven price.
Yes, which we call liberally value pricing, but it doesn't matter what you call it. What happens is firms are saying, for compliance work, we understand clients want a fixed fee and certainty and know what they're getting. So they don't say, what the hell do those guys do down there? They know what they do down there. And then when something else crops up, we ask our fee earners, don't just run off and do it. Speak to the client about the value of all of this stuff, the benefit to them. And I had a lovely example the other day. A guy rang up and asked for the single person's or the personal allowance for tax purposes, which is a pretty simple question. And the accountant said, oh, it's about 5,000. Hang on a minute, I'll find out from tax tables or the mouse
Get the Willans out,
yeah, whatever it was. And whilst he was looking it up, he said to the client, "Why did you want to know?" And the client said, "Oh, because my daughter's coming to work for me through the summer holiday. She's off to university." And he immediately triggered. The value of this advice was not in telling him 5,000, but was the relationship, of course, with dad and daughter. And he said, "Well, why don't you and Emma come in the office for an hour or so? Did you want to have a little run around car? What about a mobile phone? Maybe there's some tax things we can do so you can get her." And of course, being a dad, he just loves his daughter to love him. So he said, "Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. I'll come in and we'll spend an hour or two." He got £200 or £300 out of that. But
And great advice, great relationship
great advice,
building.
and it was very much opportunistic, value driven, where the accountants recognised, well, I could have said 5,200 or whatever it is,
And put the phone down.
and put the phone down.
And end of.
End of. But the whole notion of value pricing is understanding where's the value in what I know about for my client.
And you're training quite a few firms right now on their fee earners on these concepts.
We are, Ian, and it's not just us, but I mean, more and more firms are saying, how can we train our accountants and tax people that have been very well trained technically to understand where the real money is,
And the real value to the client is.
and therefore where the real value is.
And that's the differentiating factor, I think, in today's climate, is that you have to be different from others and have to add that value. It's very important.
Crucial.
Otherwise you'll end up competing on price, which is just the wrong market.
Completely the wrong market, and in fact I believe there are two markets even within one firm. So I can quote for you a fixed fee, and I know I'm competing against another local accountancy firm, and I've got to be there or thereabouts. But I will say, if you sign up to me, here's the sort of stuff that you might be interested in.
And what is the sort of benefits or stuff that people are saying?
So for example, I would have visited you 2 or 3 times before I gave you a quote, found out what you care about. It's all sales technique really, but I would say, what does it feel like to run a business like this, Ian? And then of course entrepreneurs are very feely people, very emotional, where it feels good or it feels bad, or I love this and I hate that. And I'm trying to explore, where does this person find value for them?
One of my clients, when they send out a pre-meeting agenda for a quote or to meet the client for the first time, or potential client, they send out their agenda, and in the middle of the agenda is a blank space, and it says, say point number 7 or 8, "What's important to you?" ? And leaves it blank.
Wonderful.
And the agenda's sent out in advance of the meeting. And of course, when you go to the meeting with your potential client or existing client, they've obviously filled that bit in the middle. And then you have the discussion about what's important to the client, as opposed to all the other stuff.
So that the whole story is now very much, from start to finish, geared towards where's the value. And therefore, the finish is sending the bill and being paid. Well, if that's all based on value, the resistance to agreeing terms at the beginning is very much lower than if you, in the old days, you would look at work in progress after 12 months and say, "Oh my goodness, better send the client a bill." And of course it's like a time bomb. And I'm not challenging the value. The value was probably just as high 20 years ago as it is today. But the technique getting there
Is a lot different.
has completely
And it has to change in this environment we're in.
Absolutely, and more so now as we look forward for the next year or so. I think that we've really got to batten down the hatches and get our techniques right.
Well, Gordon, thank you very much for this vodcast, and I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. We hope you've enjoyed listening to us, and if you need any further information, please feel free to contact us at the 2020 Group. Thank you.